bestrobo.in, your favorite robotic and electronics store in India.
Hello everyone, welcome to Mifratech. Today in this section we learn about proximity sensor. So this proximity sensor mainly used for metal detection. So this sensor you can also use for if you are using in any army robot or any different project, means you can use it as a bomb detection sensor also. So this is how a proximity sensor will look like. So as you can see in the picture, so this proximity is nothing but the actual meaning means nearness. So whatever the object or metal will near to this proximity sensor this will detect the presence of nearby objects. So how it is going to detect means by generating a frequency without any contact with the object. So here mainly an electromagnetic radiation is emitted by this proximity sensor. So whatever the emitted that electromagnetic radiation, so what it means it looks for an changes in the field or return signal. So whenever an object comes in this electromagnetic radiations that is emitted by the sensor, so it is going to, if you get a return signal, means it is going to it is know that there is an object is present. So in this way it is going to work like as an overview. So this object being sensed is often referred to as proximity sensor target, depending on the proximity sensor target, as I told. So this proximity sensor has a long functional life and can be available in various shapes and materials, such as it can be available in plastics, metallic, or having circular and rectangular shape also. So in some proximity sensor, what happens is there is a combination of both metallic and plastic will be available. So the proximity sensor has a high reliability due to absence of mechanical parts and the lack of physical contact between the sensor and the target. So there is no physical contact is required in order to detect the metal. So the proximity sensor is, you can adjust adjust very short range, can often be used in order to as a touch switch also we can use this proximity sensor. So this proximity sensor generally used in industrial application, from manufacturing to food production or to recycling. So there are different application you can use this proximity sensor. So this particular proximity sensor is an inductive proximity sensor. So as you can see here, which one I am showing in the figure, this is the inductive proximity sensor which can be used for metal detection. So this inductive sensor mainly it can be available in both AC and DC supply operated. So some inductive sensors consist of 2 wires, while some consists of 3 or 4 wires. So that depends on the type of whatever the proximity sensor you are using. So it can be available in various shapes, as I told, tubular, rectangular, ring shaped. So this inductive sensor can detect a target range from 0.5 millimeter to up to 40 millimeters. So the maximum range of detection will be 40 mm only, this proximity sensor. So the metal should be with that distance in order to detect. So the only detect metallic target, as I told, this inductive proximity sensor which I am shown, it is used for metal detection. And therefore what it will do means it will use a magnetic field to its presence, like in order to detect the metal. So the inductive sensor mainly consists of sensing coil, which is a ferromagnetic coil having the copper turns. So inside this inductive proximity sensor, it has a sensing coil which will be like a ferromagnetic coil that is having a copper turns will be embedded in this ferromagnetic coil. So this, as you can see in the figure, this is how inside this inductive proximity sensor will look like. So as you can see figure, there is a proximity switch and this is the active phase. So whenever the target comes, whatever that electromagnetic field it is generated, so from that it is going to get a return signal. From that it can get to know whether there is a metallic body is there or not. So below, as you can see in the figure, so when we'll provide a DC power supply for this proximity inductive type proximity sensor, so what happens means whenever you provide the power supply, then there is an oscillator which will generates an AC signal. So whatever the generated signal is there, that is electromagnetic field, so there will be an induction coil, as you can see here, that induction coil will generate a changing magnetic field. So whatever the AC current that is flowing with, that will generate this through this induction coil, it will generate an changing magnetic field. So this changing magnetic field will be emitted by this proximity sensor. So whenever the object, that is metallic object, when comes near the maximum range of 40 millimeter range, means it can reflect back the signal and it can get to know that is a metal sensing region, magnetic field, as you can see, 40 mm region. In this way this inductive type proximity sensor will detect the metallic objects. So the working principle, as I told, of this inductive proximity sensor mainly based on the electromagnetic induction only. This is the working principle of this inductive proximity sensor. So mainly the coil will generate a high frequency oscillation field, that is electromagnetic field. So the electric currents whatever generated here we can call it as a eddy currents also. So that are induced on the metal surface. So whenever a ferrous metal, that is in a metallic compound metal, that will enters this magnetic field, these eddy currents will induce a power loss within the oscillator circuit. So what happens is whenever that metallic object would come in, like when enters this magnetic field, will come closer to that maximum proximity range. So there is a eddy current which will induce the power loss with the oscillator circuit. So in turn cause this reduction in the amplitude of the oscillation. So whenever there is a reduction in the amplitude of the oscillation, we can get that will call it as a echo or eddy currents. So this change in amplitude sends a signal to the switch. Changing switch normally open and normal open or normally closed configuration respectively. So initially the proximity sensor will be in normally open or closed condition. Whenever a metal that is any metallic object come in that magnetic field, so this normally open or closed configuration will change. So by that we can get to know whether any metal target is detected or not. So when the metal target is removed, what happens means the proximity inductive sensor range, the oscillator will turn to its normal state, as I told, normally open state, and the switch will turn to its normally closed and or open output. So in this way this proximity inductive sensor will detect the metal. So an inductive proximity sensor mainly consists of 3 wires. There will be like brown, black and blue. So in this inductive proximity sensor you can get 3 wires in order to interface with any microcontroller board. So it mainly has black, blue and brown color wires, in which brown wire will be used as a positive terminal in order to provide power supply for this proximity sensor, and blue will be used connected to ground. So the black wire what will get, so that will be the like output which will be send the detected metal output signal to the controller. So that will be used as the input voltage, that is black color wire, and its voltage mainly ranges from 5 volts to we can provide power supply from 5 to 32 volts for this inductive proximity sensor. So due to it has a such wide range of input voltage, we can use an inductive proximity sensor with 5 volts compatible controller boards like Arduino Uno, Arduino Mecha. We can use it in Arduino, any microcontroller we can use it in a LPC214 also with Raspberry Pi. So what are all the different microcontrollers available, we can use this inductive proximity sensor. So in this inductive proximity sensor, again there are two types like NP and PNP. So the working is nothing different, both will work as the same principle and same thing. So only the wire configuration will change. So there will be like 3 wires PNP and 3 wires NPN inductive proximity sensor. The first one which we'll see is the 3 wire PNP. So in this PNP, so as you can see here, a black one will be here. Black is used as a positive pin in this and blue will be connected to ground. So as you can see here, and the red brown one. So here is, as you can see, are connected here 24 volts to positive, and 0 volts is nothing but ground, and black one will be used as output. So in another one in NPN, there will be like brown color one will be positive, same green, black is output. So only the connection will vary. So as you can see here, this is how in order to connect it to any relay or contactor with the low power consumption coil, you can connect NPN and PNP in this way. So the inductive proximity sensor, as I told, available in two different NP and PNP, both types used for the same purpose. The only difference in the wiring, as I told, the PNP type inductive proximity sensor will give positive voltage as the output, and while the NPN inductive sensor will give ground or 0 as the output signal. So that is the main difference between PNP and NPN. In the PNP, what happens means whatever the positive wire will get, that will be given as the output voltage, but in NPN, ground or 0 will be taken as the output signal. So that is the difference between NP and PNP. So basically you can call it as PNP will be like a opposite of the NPN proximity sensor output. So we can connect first in this, what we have done is we are connecting the brown wire of the sensor with the positive terminal of the battery and blue wire to the negative terminal of the battery in order to provide power supply for the proximity sensor. So the left one is the black one, that will connect as the output signal, that's like a input signal that will detecting the metal is detected or not. So that will taken as the input signal for any controller we can connect. So black wire of the sensor, which is signal wire, is connected at the like analog values we can connect, or digital pin also we can connect. A1 of the terminal of the contactor, and the other A2 of the contactor will be connected to the DC common. So this is this whatever I am explaining, this is how it is connected in this figure. So for while connecting to microcontroller, we can use the 3 wires itself commonly. So what is the output of this NPN and PNP type inductive proximity sensor will? So the NPN type of sensor will mainly give you 0 or ground as the output signal, as I told, whereas the PNP inductive proximity sensor will give output will be like a positive signal from the by using 5 to 30 DC voltage. So what are the different features of this proximity sensor means? There is like LED light, like LED light will be available in this. Whenever you provide power supply, or whenever it is detecting the like any metal, in order to represent that, there is a like a LED will be glowing in this proximity sensor. High repeated positioning accuracy, high switching frequency, wide voltage range, anti-vibration, dust, water and oil prevention. So these are the features of this inductive proximity sensor. Reverse, there is a reverse power protection, short circuit protection, directly connecting with to PLC or any microcontrollers we can connect. So the technical specification of this inductive proximity sensor is: operating voltage is between 5 to 32 volts or 6 to 36 voltage you can give. We can give a direct, normally 5 volts DC voltage. Output type is NPN NO, normally open, and this is for NPN. This is the inductive proximity sensor. It will be normally open. Whenever it detect the metal, it will normally close, state it will change. The type is inductive, as I told. Distance is up to like maximum it will take up to 4 mm, and output current is 300. Working temperature is minus 25 to 70. There will be like some fluctuations will be there. So the dimension 70 mm screw diameter is there. So this is how we can this is the interfacing of this proximity sensor with Arduino microcontroller. So as you can see here, the 3 wires, this inductive proximity sensor has 3 wires, brown, blue and black. So first I will show you how to connect this blue one, whatever we have, that I have connected to 12 loads, and brown one I have connected to. So as you can see here, brown one I connected to pin number like 5 volts in this Arduino microcontroller board now to provide power supply for this proximity sensor, and blue one I have connected to negative terminal. So next we left with the black one. Black one is the output pin that I have connected to as the output pin. So as you can see here, pin number some 13 pin number 13 I have connected here. So in this way we can connect. In this example I have connected resistors and PC81C optocoupler also. So this normally we can connect directly to this ground to power supply. We can provide power supply and ground connection and output signal to microcontroller board. So in this example I have connected 1K resistor with the pin number 2 of this PC81C is the optocoupler, and we can connect to other terminal of the resistor also. This is an example I am showing. It depends on the project, whatever you are connecting, we can directly connect to the controller board itself. So after making the connection, we have to write the program for this proximity sensor. This is the sample program for this proximity sensor for whatever the connection I have made. So you have to, after that you have to dump the code to the microcontroller board, whatever you are using. If you are using Arduino Uno means you have to dump there the Arduino ID after programming. In this way, this proximity sensor, that is inductive type proximity sensor, can be used for the metal detection. So thank you for watching the video. Thank you.